Right, Mr. Fitch here. We are going to look today at converting between decimals and fractions. So let's have a look at some examples and let's see if we can understand how and why this happens. All right. So first one, we are going to convert some decimals into fractions. 0.4, 0.16 and 0.582. So what we need to remember is we are looking at decimals where we've got units. We have the units here. In the first one, we also have tenths, which are written as 1/10. So let's just focus on the first one to begin with. Now, if we've got 1/10, we write it as 1/10. But in this case, we've got 4/10. So we are going to write this as 4/10. Now, can we simplify it? Because if we can simplify it, that's exactly what we want to do. I can divide the top number and the bottom number by 2 because they're both even. So that's exactly what I want to do. So if I divide the top number by 2, I get 2. And if I divide the bottom number by 2, I get 5. I can't simplify that anymore. I can only simplify that anymore if I can do the same thing again. If I can divide the top and the bottom number by the same number and still get a whole number. Okay, 2 and 5 can't be divided by 2, can't be divided by 3, can't be divided by 4, and so and so. Okay, they can only be left as they are. So that is your answer. That's changing a decimal to a fraction, and it's done. Right, second one, 0.16. We've got our units again. Okay, there's no units. Then we've got our tenths. Remember, that's 1/10, 1/10. And then we've got the next column is our hundredths. So actually what I'm looking at, if I ignore the tenths now, I'm looking at 16 hundredths. So I can write that as 16/100. If I can simplify, that's exactly what I want to do. So can I divide the top and the bottom number by the same number? Looking at them both, I'm pretty sure I can divide them both by 2. So that's exactly what I'll do. I'll divide the top number by 2 and I will divide the bottom number by 2. So 16 divided by 2 is 8. 100 divided by 2 is 50. Now I can do it again, actually. I can divide the top and the bottom number by 2 again. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 50 divided by 2 is 25. Now looking at that, I don't know any numbers that can divide into 4 and into 25. I know I can divide 4 by 2 and 4, of course, but I can't divide 25 by 2 and get a whole number. And I can't divide 25 by 4 either. It's not in the 4 times table. So I'm going to leave it as it is. That is my fraction. That is me converting 0.16 into a fraction. Right, let's have a look at the next one. We've got our units, okay, so our whole numbers. Then we've got our tenths. Then we've got our hundredths. The next one, if anyone can remember, it's thousandths. Okay, so I'm just going to represent that with a TH. So if we start with the thousandths, I've got 2. So actually, if I read across, I've got 582 thousandths. We represent 1,000th as 1/1000. So we've got 582/1000. Oh, forgot a 0. So now I look to see if I can simplify it. And in this case, I can divide both the top number and the bottom number by 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simplify that. Dividing 582, and I'll do this nice and easily for you, you get 291. Dividing 1,000 by 2, I get 500. Okay, and that is us converting decimals to a fraction. Right, let's work the other way. Let me start with a fraction, and I'm going to start with one we've already seen. I'm going to start with 2/5. And I want to convert this back into a decimal. Now, there's 2 ways you can do this. You can either try and convert it. Look at where we started with. look at where we started with when we were converting or simplifying our fractions. We had something over 10 or something over 100 or something over 1,000. Now if I can convert a fraction so that it's over 10 or over 100 or over 1,000, then I can actually read off what the decimal is really nice and easily. Look, this is 582 thousandths, so it's 582 after the decimal point. This is 16 hundredths, so that's 1/6 after the decimal point, because that's 16 hundredths. Okay, this is 4 tenths, so that's 4 after the decimal point, because the first place is your tenths column. So what we need to do, and this is one way of doing it, is if we can convert this fraction 2/5 into something over 10, then we can read off nice and easily. Remember what we do. Whatever we do to the denominators, the numbers on the bottom, we must do to the numerators. Now I've times this by 2 to get to 10. So I'm going to times the top one by 2 to get to 4. So we can see that it's 4 tenths. And the tenths column is the first digit after the decimal point. So that's equal to 0.4. Now there is another way of doing this. Remember what this fraction line means. It means divide. So I could do 2 divided by 5, and I could use my bus stop method. So for anybody who really wants to challenge themselves, let's divide 2 by 5 and see if we get 0.4. Now, how many 5s go into 2? None. So what I'm going to have to do is put the decimal point in and then put a 0 after the decimal point and carry that 2 over. Okay, so now I'm asking myself how many 5s go into 20, but we've got a decimal point, so we need to put that decimal point above. Remember, if we're dividing decimals, we need to make sure the decimals go in there as well, decimal points. So 5s into 20, how many 5s are there in 20? Well, if you do your 5 times table, you'll find out that there is 4 of them. And look, the answer is 0.4. So there's two ways about this. One is convert it into a fraction where it's over 10, 100 or 1,000, or the other one is do bus stop. So let's have a look at another example. I want to convert 17 over 20 into a decimal. So the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to do it with the first method. I'm going to try and turn this into something over 10 or something over 100 or something over 1,000. Now, can I easily convert this into something over 100? Yes, I can. I can times this by 5. 5 20s get us 100. So now I'm going to be looking at the hundredths column. Okay, I'm going to be counting off how many hundredths I can see on the top. So 70, remember I need to do the same to the top as I do to the bottom. So 17 times 5 gets me 85. So I've got 85 hundredths. So remember, units I've got none, and then the hundredths will be the next two numbers, 85 hundredths. Right, one more example. 409 over 500. So what I need to do is convert this into, because it's just over 100, it's over 100, I'm not going to try and take it down. I'm not going to try and divide so it's over 100. I'm going to try and make this so it's over 1,000. And actually, I can times the 500 by 2 to get to 1,000. So what I'm going to do to the top number is times it by 2. And I'm going to get 818. Okay, so this is now telling me how many thousandths I've got. So this answer will be 0.818. It's 818 thousandths. Now, have a go at the questions. First section, pretty straightforward, I hope. So do your best on that. Now, if you're finding that a little bit too easy, and it's up to you, if you're not, then just do the first section. Then if you're finding it a little bit too easy, have a go at the second question, all right? Have yourself a great day, and I'll speak to you all soon.